Welcome to the HashTag show.
मैंने फर्स्ट ट्रेड लिया तभी आई डिडंट इवन अंडरस्टैंड कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ फ्यूचर्स एंड मार्जिन बट ही सेड कि ये अकाउंट खोल दो 50,000 डिपॉजिट करो और ये ट्रेड ले लेना. सो माय नेबर वाज गाइडिंग मी.
Do you think the brighter Indian minds we are losing them to the US?
A lot of people have moved in the past, but I think that entire thing is going to change. I think it's completely changing. I mean, if you visit New York or the other cities, you'd want to come and stay in a place like say Bombay or Bangalore.
If you make a strategy once, right? Can we say that this is the way forward then?
This is the way forward, but it is constantly evolving because markets are evolving, times are evolving. Because if you see like abhi jo chal raha hai, right? As we speak, we are having the trade war going on right now.
Welcome to the HashTag show. In the last 3 months, we have been bringing to you real estate developers, technocrats, fund managers, wealth managers, influencers. Today, it's an honor and we are really privileged to host Rishabh Nahar, who is the partner and fund manager at Quant Advisors, where he combines his strong foundation in finance with self-taught programming expertise to create innovative investment strategies. Holding a degree in finance, Nahar has developed a unique skill that he bridges the gap between traditional financial knowledge and the cutting edge technology of quantitative analysis. With over 9 years of experience in equity and quantitative research, Nahar, a coder in 3 languages, specializes in utilizing advanced mathematical models and the data analytics to extract valuable market insights. His ability to analyze complex data and apply these insights to investment strategies has been a key driver to his success. Please join me in welcoming Rishabh. Hi Rishabh, how are you?
Thank you.
So you had a traffic coming from Lower Parel.
Yeah.
So
sort
took
of not,
you
yeah.
an hour.
Took me an hour and a half or so. But it's, I mean, it's good. So generally in the afternoons you don't step out, right? Especially like through the day we have, I mean, market hours, 2:33. Right. So we are generally in office. Most of the meetings we do ideally virtually or in office. So you don't end up feeling the heat in Bombay as much, right?
नहीं वो तो गाड़ी में से तो AC है तो वो problem नहीं है as far as the heat is concerned. I think it's more of the time.
More of the time. I mean, generally most like office going people are in, you're in office or at home. Midday on moving out, but
But I understand you stay close to the office.
Yeah, so
so you're one of those few lucky people who's.
Yeah, that was one of the criteria to select the office. Honestly, like time is the only commodity that you cannot produce, right? So like, can we save as much as we can? So I stay five minutes away from my office. So it's an honor to be over here to speak to you.
My privilege. As I was telling you, you're my first guest whom I did not know earlier. So now we have met. Yes. Otherwise, all my other 17 guests have been known to me over the last. So I've been now in business for about 3 decades across real estate, media, entertainment, and technology. Right. And now that we are venturing into wealth management, investment management, it'll take us some time moving there because we have been servicing a lot of HNIs and celebrities for the real estate perspective. So let's see how it goes. The investment landscape in India is changing. Absolutely. The wealth management landscape is changing. So we have an expert here, and it would be a pleasure to get your insights into whatever transformation and the evolvement of wealth management is going on.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Yeah. So very quickly, Rishabh, as we ask every guest, please tell us something about yourself, about your career. I mean, obviously you're having a degree in finance, so finance was your subject of interest. But whatever, you want to take us down your life and just give us some insights?
So I can start with how I started. Correct. Back in 2000 and so I got done with college back in 2014 and I went to HR in Bombay itself. Okay. So for me, I think learning was always about, it was not as much about academics as much it was about learning by yourself, reading books, figuring out. Correct. I was always, so I come from a Marwari family. Okay. And finance and business is a day-to-day discussion at home, right?
Breakfast table, lunch table, dinner table.
Absolutely. Breakfast table, lunch table, कितना पैसा कमाया, क्या हुआ, market में क्या. So it was always a general discussion, right? So that knack about numbers, understanding. So that was something I was always interested in. 2014 is, when I got done college, but 2011-12 was when I actually started developing the love for finance. love for numbers, and looking at the stock market, variation in P&L.
एक अलग ही वो एक मजा था.
There is something. So there was something about salary versus. So in my mind when I was back in college, I was like, the pay should never be fixed.
Correct.
There needs to be variation. Negative भी होएगा तो भी चलेगा, but variation तो
मजा आया.
हाँ, there needs to be some sort of excitement in life,
some
right?
kick is there.
So that was something I was always, that's why the stock market is something that attracted me, and I started studying, figuring out. So general life cycle of anyone in the stock market के F&O trading से चालू करते हैं, right? कोई भी आप 21-year-old, 18, that's how I started. I started trading F&O, and तभी 2012-13 में Reliance Infra, Reliance Communication बहुत was a hot stock to trade.
Correct.
And I used to do some basic chart reading. My neighbor told me आप ये chart पढ़ के बहुत मज़ा आएगा, बहुत पैसे कमा सकते हैं. तो that's how I started. And मैंने first trade लिया, तभी I didn't even understand concept of futures and margin. But he said कि ये account खोल दो, एक 50,000 deposit करो और ये trade ले लेना. So my neighbor was guiding me. मैंने 50,000 डाला, next day I made 40,000. So I was like, this is very good. So I borrowed some more money and I put another 1 lakh rupees. The next day I made another 50-60,000. So 2-3 दिन पैसा कमा. That time my current wife and my then girlfriend, I called her up. I said कि I have one mechanism to make money. So how much money do you have? So she said I have saved 2 lakhs. So I said कि ठीक है, can you transfer it to me and I'll grow your money. And then I took a trade in L&T. And I was trading futures that time. And 3 days and everything was wiped out. So that was the first starting point, and she was devastated.
And she was a girlfriend that time.
Yeah,
right?
she was my girlfriend that time. Luckily, she didn't leave me. She's my wife now.
Yeah,
So
good.
So that's how the journey started. And then so then I started thinking, okay, fine. There are so many people who have made so much money, and how was wealth created, right? That is the first question we asked. Then I started studying people like Warren Buffett, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, Radhakishan Damani, all these guys, and how. So that's how the inquisitiveness about or studying about businesses, they actually study the business and then they buy, not based on some chart reading, right? And that's how. So then that's how I started studying the balance sheet, assets. So fundamentally, accounts was always strong, right? So reading an annual report was back then was also very easy. After I got done with college, then I applied at a PMS, Giri Capital, and I worked there for about 1.5-2 years odd, and I worked as a research analyst. And I was also out there, I was looking at businesses the traditional way, going to meet the management, understanding what the product is. Nice. So understanding the fundamental premise behind the business. So that experience really shaped, created a good foundation for me.
So this is going now beyond trading now.
This is beyond trading.
Beyond trading,
absolutely,
right? And
beyond
trading,
trading.
you don't do all this.
Yeah. So, by the time now this is 3-4 years into the industry when I realized that wealth is generated through, holding on to good businesses over long periods of time, right? So that concept was pretty clear, and you want to understand the business, because if you want conviction and you want to hold a good position, you need to understand the business. Right. However, even if tomorrow Warren Buffett comes, Warren Buffett's portfolio is available online. Correct. Right? You can buy exactly what he buys. Correct. But you will never be able to hold it when it falls because you've not done the research, right? Correct. So essentially you want to learn how to do research. That was the thought process. So I was doing subjective investing out there. The issue that I was facing with subjective investing was that subjectivity में जब आप management से मिलते हैं, CEO of a company से मिलते हैं, they are such powerful people, they have a knack to influence you, right? Because the way they speak, even if the company is not doing well, they'll convince you that this is the best company in the world, right? So that's where a lot of people they lose out or they buy the wrong business. So that's when I started figuring, okay, fine, is there an objective way of doing this? Okay. So I always had this, interest in technology, and that's why I learned how to code. And I learned how to.
So you're a self-learner coder?
Self-learner. So I have a finance background. I just I picked up some course online.
But that's a good combination, right?
So exactly, because the thing with so post 2012-13, a lot of data came into picture, right? And analyzing and today we are very far ahead the way data is being used. So that time I realized, okay, fine.
So Rishabh, I'll just give you a perspective here. In finance and investment, yes, data is important. You'll be surprised to know that even now in real estate, a lot of data is being used. Absolutely. We have a lot of platforms now where what is the unsold inventory, how much inventory has been sold, apartment has been sold at what rate. So when you're buying an office or buying a house, earlier it was just like जो broker ने या builder ने बोला वो price में आप
अभी
Zapki, you're talking about Zapki. There is Zapki, there is CRE Matrix, number of such kind of platforms which are doing a lot of analytic work, which makes the buying experience also better, and you know what price you are paying for.
Absolutely. In fact, talking about real estate, my second love is real estate.
We'll come to that also.
Yes, yes.
We'll talk to all your loves, whatever loves.
Yes,
you have,
absolutely.
and we'll keep it strictly to business loves. So let us start now. Okay, carry on. You want to add something?
Yeah, so that's how I got into coding, because I wanted to objectify this entire process. I had a framework in the mind कि business में देखना क्या है, return on capital, return on equity, debt to equity. But I said, can I objectify this? Can I actually put this down on paper?
So kind of standardize the thing.
Yeah, can I standardize the entire process so that every day I don't need to make 10,000 decisions, right? So that's when I developed a first system. Right, I made a piece of code, and that's how we developed the first system.
So the name, how did you name your company Code?
So basically everything that we were doing when we started 2017 or when we started was in relation to coding and quantitative finance. So that's how this combination, we came up with the word code, because the thing is that when you hear the word code, and because it's starting in the Q, you want the investor to know, okay, fine, it's something to do with coding,
quantitative,
right? So we want that sort of feeling when you think of the brand, right? So that's how.
Can you throw some light is this your unique selling point in terms of coding, finance, investment, or other wealth management companies? They also have this, or you are one of the few?
So Quant Finance is just picking up, but there are very few quant finance firms. Now the reason there are few quant finance firms,
and you want to tell us what exactly is
quant,
and what is quant investing and quant finance?
Absolutely. So starting with what is quant investing, essentially,
because that's what your strength is.
Absolutely, right. So essentially quant is a set of rules, right? So quant is nothing more than just a set of rules. Someone like Warren Buffett has those rules in his head, right? Sometimes आप जैसे देखेंगे वो बोलते हैं I don't invest in tech stocks क्योंकि मुझे tech business समझ में नहीं आता है, right? So उसने क्या बनाया, रूल बनाया है. हम क्या बोल रहे हैं कि यही रूल हम पेपर पे लिख सकते हैं क्या? And can we? Because we're not as fast as him, right? Or we don't have as much experience. So all those rules are there, right? You want to only look at businesses जहाँ पे promoter holding high है, जहाँ पे return on capital high है, जहाँ पे working capital बहुत अच्छा है.
वो rules आपके defined है.
Exactly. So that is what quant finance is. Essentially, you're sticking to a set of rules, and the rules will override your subjectivity. We are saying that the machine and data is not smarter but less emotional than humans. It has no emotion. The thing is that stock market is a game of emotions, right? It's absolutely that. नहीं तो what is the barrier? Anyone, आज watchman भी stock market कर सकता है, मैं भी stock, I can also be, there is nothing, all I need is demat account and money in the bank, right? The only thing that is separating me from someone else is my thought process. So we are saying, can I put all my thought process in a set of rules, and we will constantly make that better and better. As our experience grows, we can keep getting the rules better and better, right? So the idea, the whole concept of quant finance is,
I think your success ratio also will increase, right?
Absolutely, right? So because emotion is not involved, right? Oh, अभी मार्केट गिर गया, should I do something? आप constantly decision fatigue होता है.
अभी लास्ट 4-5 दिन से कितने मीम्स तो आ ही रहे हैं because of the market crash.
Absolutely, right? So हमारा रूल है ऑफिस में कि कोई पीएनआर नहीं देखेगा, कोई सीएनबीसी नहीं चलाएगा. The thing is that we don't want emotion in the process.
And influence also.
Exactly. We are saying कि डेटा देखो, डेटा क्या सजेस्ट करता है. अभी कल मार्केट 5% डाउन था, राइट है, ठीक है. वी आर सेइंग ओके, हाउ ऑफन हैज दिस हैपेंड, क्यों होता है ये, टैरिफ वॉर पहले भी पास में हुआ है. सो लेट्स एनालाइज एवरीथिंग यूजिंग डेटा.
सर्कमस्टेंसेस आते हैं.
एग्जैक्टली. सो दैट इज द एंटायर आइडिया. दैट्स व्हाट वी डू एट कोड.
फैंटास्टिक. You had an experience with Girik Capital, if I pronounce it right.
Yes, that's correct.
Can you tell us your experience around that?
So around 2015, 16, 1.5 years is when I was.
You've been working with companies with different names, huh? Not the typical run-of-the-mill names.
So Girik was a great firm. I think it set the foundation for me. I worked with 2 very great fund managers out there.
Very nice.
And out there I did the traditional fundamental stock research. I analyzed quite a few businesses. So what happens is when you do the groundwork, where you actually go meet the management, go to the factory. I went to so many factories, I actually understood how a product is made. नहीं तो क्या है ना, आप जब इन्वेस्टर हो ना, आप आपके रूम में बैठे हो, आपने कोई स्टॉक देखा, अच्छा ये ऊपर जा रहा है, मैं खरीदता हूँ. दैट एक्सपीरियंस इज नथिंग, राइट. अल्टीमेटली यू वांट टू नो वो स्टॉक ऊपर क्यों जा रहा है, वो रेवेन्यू क्या है. आपने रेवेन्यू तो देख लिया कि वो 1000 करोड़ कमा रहा है, बट वो 1000 करोड़ कैसे कमा रहा है, राइट. इट इज़ नॉट अ पीस ऑफ केक. Admi, he has a sales team. So if you understand, that's what my experience at Greek was, to understand the business ground up. So right now it becomes, and as you see n number of businesses, right, like say you analyze 100, 200 businesses, then it becomes so easy to understand whether this business will be successful or not.
Very nice.
So that was the entire experience at Greek, So the experience was a very, fundamental approach.
And which year was this?
So this was, I think, around 2015 and 16.
16.
Yeah.
Great. So tell us what led your path to quant investing, which you just now given us a good idea about it, and why not active stock picking?
So this is the thing, right? Active. So all forms of, there are different people use different approaches.
And so we can elaborate, because this is one of the first time having somebody like your back on our show.
Quant investing.
So quant investing, even from a fund manager point of view, you are one of the fund managers we have. We had couple managers earlier, but you, since it's more towards equity investment and quant investing, quote unquote. So you can keep on elaborating something so our viewers will get a better idea.
Absolutely. So active investing and quant investing, that's a very big debate today. Ultimately, both the forms of investing are looking for one output. What is the output? Companies jahan pe earnings growth hoega.
Correct.
Right? You want to look at companies where there will be profitability growth. These two things, active and quant, are just tools. Now, why quant over active for us is because with active, the subjective element, the dependence on one man's intelligence, right? The dependence on one fund manager. If he has a bad day, maybe he can pick a bad stock. If he has a bad year, if he's going through something at home, if he's going through some disease, if he's going through something, and everyone goes through these emotions all through their life, right?
Correct.
So many factors are influencing that one human, and that human is picking the stock.
Correct.
So we are saying, can we remove those factors, those day-to-day factors? Essentially, even a quant strategy is made by a human, but once the rules are set, you're not playing around with it on a day-to-day basis. Right? So you have decided, okay, I want to look at businesses that are brands, I want to look at businesses that have high return on capital, I want to look at businesses that have shown earnings growth in the last, say, 2 years, 3 years, 2 quarters, whatever that is. And you're putting that in sort of a framework in the form of a formula, and then you're filtering out business and, okay, fine, these are the businesses I want to buy. Now, I'm not going to be influenced by, the numbers are saying everything, right? Okay, last, agar 3 saal se grow ho raha hai, agar iska return on capital high hai, if this business has been doing very well, I don't need to go and meet the manager of the business. I don't need to take that subjective call. So the idea of quant investing is remove the emotion out of the entire process. That is our entire objective with quant investing, right? So that's why quant investing over active investing today.
Very nice.
And one stat I want to state, in the US, 85% of active fund managers underperform the index.
Okay.
85% of active fund managers underperform the index. That is something to say. That means that if you are going to become an active fund manager in the US, your chance of outperformance is only 15%, right? You're only 15% of those guys are able to outperform. So that is, we are saying we want to play the game where we want to win.
Got it. Very nice.
Right.
And you're confident in that, right?
Absolutely.
You have made the framework.
Absolutely.
You made the game plan. So why not?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Comparing Google Maps and quant investing,
Yes.
Can you give us some kind of an idea? Because now Google's all over the place. So whatever I could understand from this last few minutes of conversation, lot of data, lot of processes and moves which you have made. So is there a kind of comparison?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a great question.
Or an analogy between Google Maps?
So, you would know, right? Now, back in, like, say, 30 years ago, when there was no Google Maps, आपको यहाँ से थाना जाना रहता,
पूछ के आना पड़ता है,
आप इधर रुकते, भैया आगे से राइट लेना,
आगे से।
some guy will say, मेरे को लगता है वहाँ से जाएंगे तो अच्छा रहेगा. Absolutely.
But if you tell me from an innovation perspective, I think Google Map is the most happening kind of a innovation which we have today. It's a real tool on our mobile, right?
Absolutely, right. So what is Google Maps doing? It's just telling you, okay, fine, these are all the routes.
These are all the routes.
These are the best. This is the best route
और यहाँ पे traffic भी है.
Right. It's not saying कि आप 1 घंटे का distance 10 मिनट में cover कर सकते हैं.
Correct.
Destination तो सबका ही same है.
रास्ता दिखा रहा है, direction दिखा रहा है.
आप सीलिंग से जाओगे कि माहिम से जाओगे, वर्ली तो आपको पहुंचना ही है.
Correct है.
Right. But आप यहाँ से जाओगे तो traffic कम रहेगा.
Correct.
So with we like to like you're saying Google Maps, this quant investing is an easier route to achieve your goal.
Very nice.
Right, so it sort of gives you that framework. See, because active investing, the thing with active investing is that even I am for active investing. The only thing is that not everyone has the time to spend 12 hours to do research every day. Right, active investing requires a lot of time. You have to sit in a room, read probably 100 annual reports, figure out what the management is saying. So, and there are so many so many people in your audience who they don't have the time. Right, say you're a salaried employee, you don't have the time to do active research. But if you create a framework, and based on that framework you just pick stocks, you can be probably as successful as an active fund manager.
Very nice, got it. Very, very interesting. Let us understand something more now from any examples of some kind of quotes or any life experiences, because you know got a very interesting journey. So do you want to share some kind of an experience or some quotes or whatever?
So I guess more than quotes, I like to read about people and how their experiences have been. For example, Warren Buffett. There are other legendary investors like Ray Dalio, like Jim Simmons, because we look up to certain people in life, right, from different, in different routes. For example, people like to see a Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli. So like that in finance, I look up to, there are 2-3 fund managers who I really look up to for what they have achieved. One of them is, so everyone knows about Warren Buffett, I'll not really talk about him. There's another fund manager, his name is Jim Simmons. And according to me, he is above Warren Buffett for me. And the reason is, his 20 years track record is he has done 80% per annum. Wow. 20 years on a sizable amount of money. I think, he passed away 2 years ago. He was managing more than $20 billion. Wow. $20 billion and 80% per annum, never had a negative year. Never.
Very interesting.
He started his career at the age of 47. So it's not like he started when he was 25. He started his career at the age of 47 or maybe 50. He was a mathematics professor. He was a quant investor. So now why I look up to him is the way he has structured. So one is returns. The second thing is the way he has structured his firm is that there are 250 employees in the firm and each employee is a partner in the firm. So no employee is an employee. Everyone has skin in the game. So the way the entire structure has been built, right? Someone else who I really look up to is Ray Dalio. So he has written this book called Life Principles. And the way he's run his fund, the way he conducts his life, the way, how he's objectively looking at everything. So I really look up to people who are objectively, because that sort of gives me a framework, right? So if someone tells me, ये stock खरीद लो, ये बहुत अच्छा है, मैंने इसमें एक का 100 कर दिया, I don't know how to differentiate between luck and skill, right? I want to see, okay, fine, is there some sort of skill? Can I actually garner that skill? Can I actually develop that skill? Can I spend time? How, when someone is playing cricket, Virat Kohli will tell you, what, you spend 8 hours a day, practice this stroke and you will get the best at it, right? So you can believe it and there is a way. But if someone says, मैंने ये stock लिया, ये 100x हो गया, क्यों लिया, कैसे लिया, what is the framework? So, that's what really drives me towards people who are telling me, okay, this is a skill, if you develop, you can be successful.
So ऋषभ, अभी जो आधा घंटा या जितना भी मैंने आपसे बात किया है, I can say that you are a very good observer and you love to get into the the nitty-gritties of everything. जो भी हमने अभी बात करी है, you are a very observer and a learner both at the same time, right? Am I right?
Absolutely. So this, like the thing that we are looking at by myself and within code is, we want to think in terms of this concept called first principles.
First principles.
कि अगर पैसा कोई चीज़ में बन रहा है तो वो क्यों बन रहा है, नॉट रैंडमली वी डोंट वांट इट, वी वांट नो कि फॉर एग्जांपल आपने रियल एस्टेट बताया, राइट, कि लैंड प्राइसेस ऊपर जा रहे हैं, तो क्यों जा रहे हैं, राइट, मे बी स्कैसिटी, right? There is
so
only
you are saying that there is a reason behind everything
that is happening,
and that's what your expertise is.
Absolutely.
And right. Your interest is both.
That's my interest and expertise. आज मैं आपको बताऊँ conversation, अभी रियल एस्टेट की बात करेंगे तो today I was speaking to someone in office and I was saying कि ना ये जो बड़े बड़े flats बन रहे हैं, Bombay, South Bombay, up Juhu, all these places, right, where people asking 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh rupees a square feet. My problem with flats is that ना FSI अनलिमिटेड है. तो जैसे आप देखेंगे जूहू में नया बिल्डिंग बनेगा 1.5 लाख रुपया फुट, उसके बाजू में जूना बिल्डिंग रहेगा, फ्लैट ही नहीं बिकता है वहाँ पे.
Correct.
You must have observed this.
Correct. That's a fact.
So the problem is that because FSI is unlimited, कल BMC बोलेगा कि यहाँ पे 10 का FSI मिलेगा, कम 20 का FSI मिलेगा. कल 10 माले के अभी जुहू में आपका 10 फ्लोर्स का रिस्ट्रिक्शन है तो बोलेंगे नो प्रॉब्लम यू कैन टेक इट टू 20 स्टोरीज राइट. सो देन व्हाट हैपेंस इज फ्लैट्स बिकम उसका सप्लाई लिमिटेड नहीं रहता है. बट दैट्स नॉट द केस विद लैंड. लैंड तो उतना ही अवेलेबल है राइट. यू कैन नॉट इंक्रीज द अमाउंट ऑफ लैंड. सो इफ यू थिंक ऑफ इट दैट वे, you know, someone asked me, should I invest in a flat versus do you have opportunity to invest in land? I would always buy land over a flat.
Correct. Got it.
See, the obviously ticket size is going to be different. Bombay जैसे जगह में land कौन खरीद सकता है? That is a different story altogether.
Correct. But again, here I'll tell you very honestly, there's another perspective that when we talk about buying for your own self, right? And you're talking about investment. So real estate has been now not the first preference for an investment perspective. Now we are talking about end users, we're talking of luxury, we're talking about lifestyle. Today you're not going to buy a house in Lower Parel, you're buying a lifestyle in Lower Parel.
Absolutely.
So that's the big change. And today in the morning we had one more session, and there also we spoke about the perspective of now people want a lifestyle. So people are no more just buying houses, they are buying lifestyles, right?
No, absolutely. Like even if someone asks me, you know, should I buy a house or not? So the thing is that first thing that your house is not your asset. Right?
वो आपके खुद के यूज के लिए,
आपका खुद के यूज के लिए आप मजा करेंगे, आपके पास पैसा है, you want to live a good life, you should buy it. There is emotional attachment. You go back home, it's your house.
Correct. Very interesting thing which I want to ask you. If you make a strategy once, right? Can we say that this is the way forward then?
This is the way forward, but it is constantly evolving because markets are evolving, times are evolving, right? Because if you see like अभी जो चल रहा है, right? As we speak, we are having the trade war going on right now, and the only thing in the news is about Trump and tariff wars.
You want to throw some light on that also, because I'm sure a lot of people don't know the consequences. So once you finish this,
yes, absolutely,
please share that also.
Absolutely. So this is it's a very large economic cycle and how countries are moving. So last, you know, if you see from about 1960s to 2000s, America has been, you know, like in a very crazy growth stage, right? And all countries go through the 70-80 year cycle where there is a shift of power. So, you know, if you analyze 400-500 years of country data, different countries have been at the top for different periods of time. So at some point, you know, Japan was on top at some point. So the thing is that, but we only know what we have seen in our lifetime. What we've seen in our lifetime is the US being the superpower. Now this period that we are seeing right now in terms of tariff war, the US debt जो उन्होंने लोन लिया है is so big that they are now going to soon they will struggle to repay that. And that's why Trump is going through all the efforts.
So he's actually saving his own back.
See, the thing is that absolutely everyone wants to save their own house.
Correct.
Right? So they will do everything. Whether it's good or bad is very secondary. It's a very complicated situation. It's not as simple as giving an opinion that, oh, what he did was right or what he did was wrong.
Correct.
It can't be like that.
Correct.
But it's important to note that the next 5-7 years is going to be very difficult for him. So you have to take this as आपके घर पे लोन लिया. Right, so you consider the same thing in the US. You took a loan, you know really enjoyed the loan, you spent the money, but now that's payback time. You need to repay. Now your income is not as much as the amount your EMI is, or you know, and your loan payback is. So what are you going to do? You will have to restructure. You will have to cut down spending. जो BMW में घूम रहे थे वो बंद करो, मारुति पे आ जाओ. To do all these things, it's going to hurt, right? So individually also, you know, if I have a certain lifestyle and if I need to restructure कि अभी मेरे को पैसा वापस देना है, so I will have to. So this is what is happening to the US in very simple terms.
What is the dependence of India business or Indian economy on the US?
So there is there's a big dependence of not only India, across the globe, all economies on the US, because that's where the consumption is and it was. India has been, you know, so as of today, India is the most attractive economy.
Because of the consumption theory.
Yeah, so it's a consumption theory, right? Because of consumption, you know, all the manufacturing
things are happening here.
You know, more and more now, India has been trying to become independent, not rely completely on exports, not rely, like, you know, have a little bit of consumption. Now, the great thing about India is that the population is very young. Right, so I don't know.
We have a young population,
extremely young population, right? So that's why India is
and they are also the consumers.
Absolutely, they are also the consumers. We can see how consumption habits are changing, right?
Absolutely.
Right, you can see like 15,000 or 18,000 salaried employees having a 50,000 rupee phone today.
Yes.
Right, taken on EMI. So consumption is going up. That's why India is the most attractive across the globe today. Also in terms of what's the most important element in a successful equity market, the environment. The environment is that we don't have a war sort of environment. We have a very stable government. We have a good leader. These are kind of things that people are looking at when you want to invest in equity.
And whatever pandemic and whatever external factors were there, India more or less did a good job during that phase. So we become a preference country from an investment point of view also. Not only for India but for other global players, they also want to invest into India.
Correct. So wealth is a relative concept. It's not about how much money you have, it's about how much money you have relative to your neighbor. Right? If you live in a community where you have 1 lakh rupees compared to everyone else having 50,000, you will be very happy.
Correct.
Right? The moment you go to a neighborhood where everyone has 10 lakh rupees, you will feel like you are poor.
Correct.
So India is in the best position compared to
all the neighbors.
Not only neighbors, across the globe.
Across the globe also.
Europe, America.
Fantastic. Let us something else you would like to add on to investing, wealth management, anything else you want to add? We're more than happy to hear your views and insights.
So, recently there is this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it's written back in 1980. I like to kitab, more from a understanding perspective for
but
a
you
concept.
Like it. So
I like to read. I love to read.
You're a good reader.
Yeah. Not so much in terms of fiction, more like non-fiction kind of stuff, where यहाँ पे कुछ gain, where I'm going to gain something out of that book.
Correct.
So Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about, Robert Kiyosaki is the author, and he talks about one very important concept. उनके podcast में वो एक note निकालते हैं, and he says कि ना, don't work for this, don't work for currency, work for building assets. So मैं किसी से भी बात करता ना ऐसे कि आप सैलरी या पैसे के लिए मत काम करिए. You work for अभी how do I build assets? जैसे आप you were first into real estate, now you are venturing into equities. They are the two wealth generators, right? आप आजू बाजू में किसी को भी देख लीजिए, whoever has significant amount of wealth, either he has a very good business, or he has made a lot of money holding assets, or he has a very large equity portfolio, right? One of the three things is important.
Correct.
So we want to, when we are speaking to someone, if someone asks me, how do I become rich? The idea is that first you set your goal very clear, that I want to build assets, whether it is real estate, whether it is equities, whether it's building your business, which is your brand. And these are the three things broadly.
So there are some people जो अपना business में invest करते हैं.
Correct.
बोलते हैं यार मेरे को जब करना ही है, why do I buy somebody else's share?
Right.
There is somebody else who wants to get into equity.
Right.
And then you have the real estate.
Yes.
According to you, there are the three wealth generators.
There are the three places where you can generate wealth. And the reason with equity and real estate is the whole concept of inflation. कि सरकार तो पैसा छापते ही रहेगा. They have a machine that will keep printing. Correct. So your money in your bank is going to get devalued. 1 crore today is not going to be worth 1 crore after 10 years, right? Probably be 10 lakh rupees after 10 years. That's going to be the value, right? जैसे आप मिठी भाई से वड़ा पाव खरीदते थे, मैं भी 1 रुपये में, अभी आप 12 रुपये में खरीद रहे हैं, right? So essentially value has gone down. Yes. The value of money has gone down. Right. So if it's going to lie in the bank or in your house, it's not going to be of any value. So you want to own hard assets. Correct. You want to own gold, you want to own silver, you want to own equities, you want to own real estate. That's where real wealth is built.
Why don't you talk something more about your company? What is that your company is doing? What do you have in the next 3 years, 5 years? Let's know something more about your company code.
So, when we started, the entire idea was to manage our own money, and then once we started managing money, and when you speak to people around you, like you asked me what do you do, and we said we do this, we said okay, it's interesting, why don't you manage money for me?
For me also.
So that's how we started with managing outside funds, and until a year ago we were not even aggressive. We didn't even have a pitch deck in place. We are a SEBI registered entity, we have a PMS license. So people would come up and say that, can you manage money, and we would take it. We were not selling anything to anyone, right? But what we realized is I was telling my partner yesterday also, I said the joy of making money for someone else
is much more
is way higher than the joy for making money for yourself. I think that comes with a sort of a service attitude, right? the joy comes in giving and in service. It's not about whether you made 1 crore or 5 crores or 10 crores, but the moment you start making money for people around you, the moment you can uplift their lifestyle,
Correct.
the moment, so that's what the entire, at core, like, you know, that's what we really enjoy doing. How can we make money for our investors? And now we are in that zone that, okay, fine, you know, how can we keep our investors happy? How can we communicate what we do very effectively so that, see, today we are, you know, the last month we were the top performing PMS, in the top 10 performing PMS in the country.
Fantastic.
Right? And so, and keep speaking to the team and say that if we communicate effectively to our investors, when times are rough, they will stick by us. Right? Because, you know, there are going to be tough times. So there is no straight line equity curve. We will obviously try to do our best. So if we communicate effectively that this is, you know, this is what can happen, this is what cannot happen, you know, this is how we can perform, this is the expectation. But the idea is that we want to generate wealth for people, we want to have that service attitude, and we want their wealth to grow. So in fact, you know, even within our organization, there are office boys or, like, you know, the lower end staff who they don't understand this concept of wealth creation. You know, if they have been given a bonus, they just keep it in the bank. And, you know, we try to explain to them the concept, we help them, you know, make mutual fund investments, you know, understand that, okay, your wealth can grow. So even when that person makes 5,000 rupees now, we feel like his life is uplifted. So it's not about how much money you're making, it's about how you can uplift everyone else's.
Very nice. That's a very good thought. And starting right from the lowest possible level, you're thinking about,
So we are thinking
them also.
Absolutely.
So you feel it's a feel
It's a form
factor.
of service. It's
Service.
not, yeah, we are looking at that if an investor makes money, that's, you know.
So where do you see India now? We all know about the India growth story. We are fully aware about it. We spoke about the youth, the young population, the consumption. Anything else you would like to add which makes India growth story more attractive?
So I think, you know, like we said, the three things: real estate, gold, real estate, equities, right, hard assets. Of all, the most attractive is equities to us. The simple reason is that one of the reasons why it's the most attractive is because you have a variety of businesses to choose from.
How big is the equity market right now, if I can ask?
So, you know, in terms of number of businesses that are listed, I think there are 5,000 to 7,000 listed businesses in India, and of that about 2,000 to 3,000, maybe 3,000 are actively traded, and maybe 600, 700 or 800 where there is significant volume, where you would say I can buy a stake in the business, I could buy a significant amount of shares from, you know, that. So that's broadly the number. So it's pretty large and it's growing because the number of new businesses that are being set up. So that entire chain is coming in, right? There is a youth who are setting up new businesses, the entire startup ecosystem whose businesses are getting listed every week, every month on the exchange.
Yes.
Obviously, there are
we have the SME IPO.
Yeah, so there are good cycles. So for example, last year we had so many IPOs, so many more than what it is today. But that's the way capital markets move, right? So the next 8-9 years is going to be incredible, and we think that it's going to be incredible for all these reasons, which is the youth, kind of innovation that people are doing in India, and I think the environment is so conducive for growth today. We have
Piyush Goyal had a different perspective about.
I know, I saw that.
That's the latest thing which we are talking now right now in the circle.
I think
what is your take on that? Because it's
I think what he said was absolutely brilliant, and I think it's his way of pushing people. I don't think he meant bad to anyone that, you know, don't have a startup which is doing food delivery. But he came down quite strongly, right? But I think it was his way of being harsh. That, you know what, let's focus on innovation. Right, so the only thing that differentiates the US from the rest of the world is innovation. Correct. Right, if you have businesses like Tesla and Nvidia and all these things, that's where, like, China could not match up. Otherwise, China is a miracle. If you go to China and if you do business with them, I don't know if you ever gone to maybe buy even furniture from them. Like, so there was one time I went to buy furniture in China, you know, for a house we were making, and we spoke to the vendor. So there's a translator who comes along. And you know, the flight got delayed. He said, "Sir, don't worry, we'll keep the store open till 4 a.m. for you."
Wow!
And we went to buy one sofa. So but that's the kind of service attitude. So China's a miracle in that case, because, you know, for them, like,
Dhanda is dhanda.
And they are really there to serve you. So that is not there in America. But what's not there in China is the innovation that. Yeah. So where Piyush Goyal is coming from, I think, is that, you know, if our youth can actually focus on innovation, it will change us completely.
And I think other part was also the Bharat kind of a thing, right?
Right.
Whatever we're talking about are more for the metros.
Yes.
So whatever his second perspective was about the Bharat story,
Yes.
just the tier 2 and the tier 3. So the innovations which is going to help them, that should be what our startup founder should be focusing on.
Absolutely. Like he was talking about robotics, AI, machine learning, and see, to be honest, maybe we are a little far away or a little behind. But I think if the government forces and gets in maybe like some sort of incentives in this space specifically,
Do you think the brighter Indian minds are we are losing them to the US? Is some do you anything on that lines? Do you find that the brains have gone out?
a lot of people have moved in the past, but I think that entire thing is
So
going
now
to
it's
change.
changing.
I think it's completely changing. I mean, if you visit New York or the other cities, you'd want to come and stay in a place like say Bombay or Bangalore.
And I think India as a country itself is growing, and tier 2 cities with the kind of rapid transportation, mobility, 2 airports, highways. So the entire
roads,
infrastructure
construction,
is changing.
Even the coastal road in Bombay, right?
Coastal
It's
road,
completely
that
changed the
is
face
amazing.
of
Amazing.
Bombay. Absolutely, right? Like if you used to travel from say Worli to Nariman Point, take you an hour earlier.
Not
It's cut
20
down to
minutes.
maybe 15-20 minutes
20
today.
minutes.
So
Navi Mumbai is happening now.
absolutely, Navi Mumbai, the Nava Shivaling. So all these things are just signs of progress.
And let's face it here, India is a young country.
Absolutely.
We're not that old, right? So it's all happening at the same time.
No, absolutely. I think so the again the key thing over here is that so a lot of people talk about the India story. Now we are saying that okay, fine, can we go back ourselves, start doing it? So if someone wants to take action themselves, right? Because India story is very broad, right? आप घर जाके उसका action क्या लोगे?
Correct.
Right? You can have a table discussion about how great India is, but now let's figure out which sector should we invest in.
Correct.
Right? Should we? That's why equity markets, because
Correct.
there is so much exposure out there to different things.
Correct.
So the thing with real estate is that one, ticket size is very high. Not everyone can.
Agreed.
So that's why we are looking at equities as a more lucrative asset class.
Is there any kind of education you think which is required for, from your perspective? I know BSc, they do their investor sessions. What has been your take on education? Have you applied your mind on that for investors, or you leave it for others to do it?
So I think, you need to, I think whether you're an investor or not, your accounting should be extremely strong. BCom में वो financial accounting, management accounting subject, actually that subject is, if you can ace that subject, you'll understand money flow very well. And whether you're an interior designer or an architect or a lawyer, I think if you don't know accounting, you're really going to struggle with money, right? So if you want to become a successful investor, the first thing is you need to understand how money works. कि पैसा आता किधर से है, जाता किधर है, assets क्या है, liabilities क्या है, what are the balance sheet items, P&L statement क्या है, tax कितना लगता है. If you don't understand these things, how do you expect to make money? So if someone really wants to take action, just get your accounting principles on point, and everything else will So जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे कि the first thing people don't understand कि your house is not your asset.
Correct.
Your house is your liability.
There's a lot of confusion even now when there's a debate going on. Should I buy a house? Should I rent a house? Like both different things. Right?
It's both. So अभी जैसे why your house is not your asset. Simple है. What is the definition of an asset? आप अगर accounts का 12th standard का textbook निकालेंगे, anything that is going to generate some return on capital for you.
It's an asset.
आपका घर is not generating any return. आप घर आओगे, लाइट का बिल भरोगे, फैन का बिल भरोगे, you will pay for gas, you will pay for other things, you will pay for maintenance. So house is not an asset. The moment you bought a house and put it on rent, it becomes an asset.
I got it. Very nice.
Right?
Very well.
It's a very simple concept. Something that takes from your pocket is a liability. Something that puts money in your pocket
is an asset.
बहुत simple concept है. अभी now this answers whether your house is an asset or not.
Very nice. Brilliant. So Indians love gold, right? Right from the ladies, jewelry, wedding. What is your? We spoke about equity. We spoke about our own business, and we spoke about real estate. What's your take on gold?
I think the gold again is, according to me, classified as a hard asset. And when I say hard asset, it is something that is scarce. So anything that will have value or will retain its value for the future should not be in unlimited supply.
That I think that's the first
Concept.
guru mantra.
Correct.
पहला word समझ में आ गया.
अभी आप देखिए वो या तो अनलिमिटेड सप्लाई में नहीं होना चाहिए या तो इट शुड नॉट बी प्रोड्यूस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल डायमंड्स में दैट the lab grown diamonds have come into picture, which has really
Can
changed
you believe what kind of a crash it is?
Absolutely, 50-60%, right? People are sitting on 50-60% losses in inventory. The thing with gold is that it is backed by central banks, right? So it's not only, you know, Indian women are using it for jewelry, that is one of the use cases, but central banks think of that, you know. So for example, every time you are printing money, some amount of gold is kept in the central bank. India yet has, I think, like a 20-30% kind of a ratio. Okay, for every rupee, 30% is kept. In the US, it was stopped back in 1972. So now what's happened is that with the US, you know, completely the landscape changing, and people are worried whether the US will stay as important as it is. People are thinking whether they want to hold the dollar or not. Countries are worried about that. That's why today India, China, Switzerland, all these countries are the largest buyers of gold. Right? And that gold, so the gold, I think that like the view on gold is going to be very positive. Also, when you hold gold, you are not having any sort of currency risk. So, बहुत simple concept समझाता हूँ. आपके पास आज 100 रुपये आपके जेब में, आपने या आपके पास 1 लाख रुपया है, आपने समझो 10 ग्राम गोल्ड आपने ला के रख लिया. अभी आपको आपकी करेंसी से कोई लेना देना नहीं. ये गोल्ड मैं दुनिया में, हाँ, मैं किधर भी जा सकता हूँ and this will have value.
Traded to the other gold of the other country.
Exactly, right. So now you have no currency risk. For example, the INR is depreciating by 3.5% every year, right? So you don't need to be worried if you're holding gold. So it's a very good alternative to currency. So definitely some amount of gold, you know, is always there in everyone's portfolio, and especially in a place like India. Correct. Household gold, we
love gold,
right? So I think, yeah, gold is an asset.
And lately we've seen a lot of debt instruments also, right? So you can get a loan against gold.
Yeah.
So that also becomes
another reason. That gold as a universal use case.
Universal use case.
आप ये gold Switzerland में भी जाएंगे, उसका value वहाँ भी रहेगा.
ठीक है, it was lovely talking to you. Yeah. Any tips you want to give to our audience, our viewers, from investment point of view? Any mantras which is your mantra and Quant's mantra, please share.
I think, you know, just one thing, if you are looking at wealth creation, think of building assets. Don't work for money. Currency has no value. What is valuable is an asset. In the future, the asset is what will give you those returns. So, you know, you just focus on building assets. That's the key.
Fantastic. It was a pleasure. So in the comments, please do, if you want any questions to be asked to Rishabh, please put it in the comments and we'll get back to you and answer your queries. Thanks a lot, Rishabh. It was a pleasure and really nice.